Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Early Edge. It is going to be a great Monday. A lot to talk about. We're only Charles Woodson days away from NFL season. Put your favorite number 24 in the chat. I'll tell you what, this is not my favorite recap screen that we're going to show you from Friday and a little bit from earlier in the week. I hit my golf bet. Golf's been humming for me a little bit, but overall, this recap screen, listen, it's just bad. 3-9, 3 wins, 9 losses. There were a couple here that are a little tricky. The Mike Trout first plate appearance, that one absolutely should have won. Couple of close calls. Chip Patterson's play, he loses by 1. Maybe the suspension of play contributed to that, but we got to do better. We've had some really good recap screens, so I think we can afford a bad one, but we never want to see 3-9. So we got to flip the script a little bit here on a Monday, and we've got the team to do it. Mike McClure, Danny Brasco, PropStarz. Listen, I want to talk NFL with Danny and maybe some UFC with Danny. I want to talk NFL with PropStarz and some baseball, but Mike, I got to start with you. I mean, this is just my soapbox. Like, forgive me, indulge me for a second. I had a good golf week. I hit all 3 of my round matchups. I hit my tournament play from the early wedge. Went 1 for 2 in the finishing positions with a lot of plus money there. However, I had Tommy Fleetwood first round leader, and he was 1 back, right? And then I had Tommy Fleetwood in the without market and the early wedge, Mike, which I know you missed yesterday morning, but I got on JJ Spawn as a hedge play. The only guy that could sink me yesterday was Justin Rose, and he comes out of nowhere and wins. Your reaction to Tommy, it's a choke, right? He's a choke artist, right? I don't mean to be a jerk here, but like, wow, that was pretty bad.
It was not good. Look, he's got the narrative that he can't close, that he can't win. And while that's been true to this point, you've still, if you've been backing him maybe potentially in a top 20, top 10, even a top 5 market, you've found ways to be profitable on him. Look, I think that it's just so difficult to go win golf tournaments. Yeah. I certainly wouldn't call him a clutch golfer at this point. I think to say that, just a complete choke artist, I personally don't agree with it because he's consistently playing top tier golf to be in a position to have an opportunity to win. Yeah. It's not like an individual sport. It is an individual sport, but it's not something where it's easy to get to that spot and just never win the big moment. Here, he's consistently in that spot. So it is a brutal beat for you. I definitely think he should have won. Like, there's no doubt about that. But I think that he's still a very, very talented golfer.
No question, talented golfer. When it comes down to the final few holes, I just think there's just a mental fortitude that somehow he can't harness, where guys like Justin Rose absolutely can. Just a very interesting juxtaposition with those two in the final group. Danny Brasco, speaking of juxtaposition, it's always UFC, maybe some NFL. What are you bringing today?
Well, I got a couple things to bring for you today. Number one is that there's huge news. Paramount Skydance just signed a 7-year, $7.7 billion deal with the UFC to stream rights and take over a lot of the programming and content, which is really exciting for me because that's home to right here, SportsLine, and it's massive news. I'm hoping that it opens up a lot more opportunities for us to cover UFC content, just kind of really take the lion's share of what the sport is covered on. ESPN's been doing it for a while, but now CBS right here will have the opportunity. So that's massive. Nixing the pay-per-view model too as well. I wonder if that charge is going to find its way in your cable package or somewhere else because they got to make their money. But nice to see the pay-per-views are gone. Being a UFC fan is more expensive than any sport. So it's tough there. And as for my picks, I saw someone in the chat say Danny's been ice. It's been annoying because I've been 1-2, 1-2, 1-2 for like a month straight on Early Edge. But I'm at back-to-back winning weeks in the UFC. So I'm just bringing slightly the wrong selections here. I will say the one pick I hit, I told you guys to ladder up Gene Matsumoto's significant strikes, and he climbed 3 rungs of that ladder. We got to plus 225 there. So hopefully you guys at least hit the ladder. But exciting news in Paramount and the UFC.
And Proppy, speaking of exciting news, we are indeed 24 days away from NFL season, which means a lot more NFL coming from you, not just on this show, but in general. But you also have some baseball for us as well, correct?
Indeed, Sia. Yep, still in those K-prop streets and the pitcher streets. But yeah, very excited for NFL. Shout out to Charles Woodson, one of the best basketball players to ever play in the NFL. Little known fact about Charles Woodson.
I think we need a starting 5 from the NFL that could have been NBA players. Of course, Antonio Gates, recent inductee to the Hall of Fame, he would be on that list as well. Go ahead, Proppy.
During Charles Woodson's prime, it was widely regarded amongst the true hoopers in the NFL that he was best.
Wow.
Interesting.
And I got to say, Sia, I met Charles Woodson in Super Bowl week 2 weeks ago. I was doing a little event. He and his wife stayed and talked to me after all the fans left for like over 30 minutes. One of the nicest athletes I've ever met. Super sweet guy.
Wow. I'm surprised it took you 2 weeks to share that story, Danny. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, he was the man. His wife was so kind. I was loving hanging out with them, just talking small. We were talking about like TV shows we like. He's the best.
You want to solidify your reputation, your legacy, just be kind. That's it. That's really all you have to do. All right. Let's be kind to our recap screen. Mike McClure, I'm going to have you start off here. We do need a turnaround from Friday's recap screen. Can you help us out with maybe a play on the Dodgers?
I like the Dodgers tonight, Sia, but I'm going to back them in a team total. Just looking for a 5th run, -120. They are the road team here, guaranteed 9th inning. Always going to be appealing to me. Soriano is someone that I want to pick on just a little bit. While he's been serviceable or more than serviceable for what the Angels are doing right now, he's far from an elite starting pitcher. He's gotten hit extremely hard. He essentially has one really good pitch. Everything else, talking about getting hit hard, 92 plus miles per hour, the average exit velocity. And just looking at expected weighted on base average, this is a spot to me that the Dodgers should be able to score runs offensively. If you look at the standings right now, the Dodgers actually have a lot to play for and a lot of motivation. Things are getting a little tight in the NL West. Then you get the crosstown rivalry in LA. While they don't view it much as a rivalry, they are locked in. They are paying attention. They are having a lot to play for in these particular spots. But for me, it's just the talent of this lineup against this pitching staff, against this particular starting pitcher. Going to see a lot of balls that profile extremely well for LA's top hitters. Love the way Ohtani is playing right now. Just simply like the Dodgers. Scoring the 5th run here, I thought the price point should have been -135 for a 5th run.
Okay. We like the value there. Dodgers to get to 5 runs at -120. KC3 in the chat says Champ Bailey days away. You know, we don't talk about Champ Bailey quite enough, I feel like.
Stud.
You know, when Washington traded him, it's funny because that was so far long ago that you didn't really realize at that time that, you know, trading like an all-pro or one of the best corners for a running back is probably not the play. And I will tell you that Clinton Portis, when he came over, his very first run, I think it was against Tampa, was a 73, 75-yard house call. And it's like, oh, man, Washington's going to be great. Well, we all know how that worked out. But Champ Bailey, an absolute stud. A lot of 24s that are studs. Put those in the chat. PropStarz, go ahead.
I was going to ask the chat if they could, who the first person to name who Champ Bailey was traded for, but
yeah, here we are. Clinton Portis. Who
I
was
feel like before there was Revis Island and all these shutdown corners, like Bailey was the first prototypical model of that shutdown ISO corner, I feel like.
Yeah, it's true. He was certainly one of them. Champ Bailey was really good dude by all accounts as well. Let's move on to maybe some more NFL prop stars. You've actually got a baseball play for us, and I think it's a baseball play that everybody's, well, I shouldn't say everybody's interested in, but they're about to be interested in it because you're going to talk about the game to some degree, but we also have a SportsLine pick on one of these teams. So talk to me about Jose Quintana, and then you've got an NFL prop as well.
yeah, I've been backing the Brewers quite a bit, been riding them for a minute here and still very bullish on them, but I'm going to be fading Jose Quintana of the Brewers under 17.5 pitching outs. This number just jumped off the page when I saw this line. It looks at least 1 or 2 outs too high, in my opinion. Quintana, to his credit, has pitched very well, but he's not pitching deep into games. I also believe he's a bit of a regression candidate for as good as he is. He pitches to contact a lot, and I just don't think he's maybe as good as he's pitched. He's pitched a bit above expectations here. So 6 innings is a very tall order for Quintana. He's only achieved this in 5 of his 17 starts. Difficult spot for him to go 6 innings versus any lineup. Pittsburgh, not necessarily above average lineup, but they've been swinging the bats fairly well over the last 15 days. They rank 14th in OPS. Yeah, so great spot, in my opinion, to fade Jose Quintana under 17.5 pitching outs. And then moving over to the NFL, here is another future that I absolutely love. It's fading the great Aaron Rodgers. We're going under 23.5 passing touchdowns for Rodgers. Just so many ways that this under can come in. We're talking about a quarterback that's going to be 42. You know, he's one hit away from potentially a career-ending injury. Obviously not something we're rooting for, but certainly a possibility when you have a guy at his age still playing in the NFL. Also playing on Pittsburgh. We know Pittsburgh arguably as run heavy as any team in the NFL. An Arthur Smith-led offense. If we look at Arthur Smith's tenure as offensive coordinator in the NFL or head coach, and you look at the touchdown totals, passing touchdowns from his quarterbacks, it'll give you a lot of additional confidence there as well. And I just look at the skill position players for Pittsburgh. They're not equipped to throw the ball around. I would argue this is by far the worst supporting cast that Aaron Rodgers has had since being in the NFL. They're also slow, methodical. They win with defense. So just so many ways. So much would have to go right, in my opinion, for Rodgers to throw 24-plus touchdown passes. So I think this is a great spot to fade the great Aaron Rodgers. Yes, I would take it at 22.5. I think he ultimately throws between 18 and 20, and that's if he gets in 15-plus games. So great spot to fade Aaron Rodgers on the season-long touchdown total.
It's interesting what you said at the end there. And if anybody has any commentary about Pittsburgh or the AFC North, Mike or Danny, let me know. I know their win total is 8.5. I remember when Aaron Rodgers was acquired, I was in the CBS Sports HQ studios down in Florida, and I went on to talk about them. I leaned to their over at 9 because it was plus money. It was like plus 115, plus 120 at the time. I think I might still lean that way, but I know that's an unpopular opinion. But Proppy, this is by far the worst receiver core that he's ever had. And this assumes, by the way, that you think DK Metcalf is a top-tier receiver, which I don't necessarily think that's the case. I think he's big and strong and fast, but I don't know that he's a great receiver, and there's a difference between those two things. Behind him, I mean, who do you have? Roman Wilson, Calvin Austin, I mean, a handful of tight ends. It's not, I mean, Robert Woods is on this team. Probably this is not a good look to support Aaron Rodgers.
I could not agree more, especially DK Metcalf has to be absolutely phenomenal and score 10-plus touchdowns, something he's never done in the NFL. Not to mention, I think he has more physical traits than he does actually nuance playing the position. So never been a big touchdown receiver. There's just not great weapons. I would argue Pittsburgh has maybe the worst skill position group as far as wide receivers go in the NFL. So it's going to be a tough uphill climb for Rodgers to even approach this number, in my opinion.
Yeah, Cool Chuck Chill Out, which is just a fun name to say. In the chat says Steelers O-line is young and not very good, which is debatable, of course, on top of having a bad wide receiver core. Mike, do you have any commentary on the AFC North in general? I mean, I got to think if you're big on the Bengals, and I'm not saying you are, but if someone is big on the Bengals and big on the Ravens, which a lot of people are, it's hard to be big on the Steelers. What are your thoughts on the Steelers?
Yeah, I don't love the Steelers. I would say I typed in the chat, actually, Chris Boswell is their best offensive weapon. Look, guy's great. We're going to see many games with him scoring, 3 to 4 field goals. But look, I think the Ravens should be an even bigger favorite than they are. I think they're the best team in the NFL. I think their line, while I get that it's not going to because of the upside that Cincinnati has and represents, I think that the Ravens should absolutely run away with this division. I think they should be a much bigger favorite.
Brasco, if Lamar stays healthy, and by the way, the Ravens are my Super Bowl pick. So, I mean, not just to go to the Super Bowl, but to win the Super Bowl. I thought they were the best team in the NFL last year as well. And earmuffs, Proppy. I thought they were the best team in the NFL last year as well. Danny, what do you think about, I know, Washington fan over here. AFC North, I mean, it's the Ravens to lose. Any thoughts on Pittsburgh whatsoever?
Yeah, I really am compelled to take the Mike Tomlin regression season. Everyone knows he doesn't go under 500. He always has his guys ready. But you guys mentioned it. The roster, the way it looks, adding Aaron Rodgers in here, I think he's the right coach to kind of like stay out of each other's way and not present a lot of drama. But I don't see it necessarily succeeding either. I think this is like a pack it up season for Rodgers, and I could see them going 7-10 on the back of some gritty defense. But I'm really, Proppy talks about the Arthur Smith offense all the time. It's going to be an ugly team to watch. Mike said it. Boswell 55-yarder is going to be the best option on a lot of drives. So yeah, I think it's going to be an ugly, gritty season where they just kind of muscle out some wins, but not going to go too well for them.
Yeah, the AFC North over at BetMGM, it has Ravens at -160. I do think that number is shorter like in that minus 135 range at some places as well. So always kind of shop your lines. Maybe wait for this BetMGM line to fluctuate if you like the Ravens. Not that everybody's dead set on taking the Ravens here, but I do think they are a very deserving favorite. Can we go to the sports line pick next, Ben? And then we can talk about the BetMGM boost, because this, I don't want to say it's correlated with Proppy's pick. I don't know that it is, but I also don't know that Proppy thinks, Milwaukee's going to lose this game necessarily. Bruce Marshall has the Brewers run line at plus 105. Proppy, any commentary here? I understand that fading Quintana's outs doesn't necessarily mean you don't think Milwaukee's going to win. But if you do think that, please let us know.
I do not think that. I just don't think Quintana's really equipped nor in a position to go deep right now, and he's just unlikely to. But yeah, I think the Brewers are the best team in baseball right now. I've been saying that to my credit. I know that's easy to say considering their record, how hot they've been pre-All-Star break. If you recall, I know you certainly do, Sia. But yeah, I'm back in the Brewers. I think it's hard not to. Momentum in their favor, certainly. They're just playing incredible baseball. So, yeah, I think this is a spot that they will continue to prevail and stay hot.
Yeah, I mean, you get on these teams, these kind of like what people think are middling teams, mid-tier teams, just like the Indiana Pacers, and then they just go completely berserk and own the American, or I should say the Major League Baseball. All right, we got to get to some more picks, including our home run picks. We're going to do it right after this message from our partners.
We need the sports news anywhere.
We've got breaking news to bring you.
Then get your sports anytime you want them. Big trade news overnight to discuss.
Because we know you need sports all the time.
A lot of movement in the rankings this week.
A legend adds to their legacy.
We're bringing you that breaking news right here on HQ.
CBS Sports HQ, anywhere, anytime, all the time.
All right, we're back on the Early Edge, brought to you by BetMGM, the sportsbook born in Vegas. Danny, before you give out your NFL play and your UFC play, I've got a very early pick to give out for the BMW Championship. I might show up at the BMW Championship, by the way, probably on Friday afternoon. If anybody's going to be there, please let me know. Mike, you and I have the 7 o'clock DFS show tonight, which is particularly important since we're down to 50 players, right? From a game theory standpoint, from a roster construction and build standpoint, we're really going to lean into the game theory side tonight at 7 o'clock on this SportsLine YouTube channel. With that said, I'm going to go with the without market again. You can find the without Scheffler and McElroy market. It's already available. I'm going to take Chris Gotterup because what we're going to find at this course is that being long off the tee is really going to help. Being solid with the putter, which Chris Gotterup has done again, off the tee and with the putter. He's been very, very good. He's been very good on approach too, not so much last week, but I think this is a very good course fit. So it's guys like Chris Gotterup, again, in the without Scheffler, McElroy market, guys like Cam Young. You could certainly put Ludwig Oberg in there. You could put Victor Hovland in some of that category of players that I'm probably going to like. But I do like this number on Chris Gotterup at 30-1. Again, we're down to 50 players. It's a no-cut event. I'm taking Scheffler and McElroy out of the equation, just like I did last week. 30-1 on Chris Gotterup. Mike, I can't imagine, it's early on a Monday. You haven't looked at any outrights quite yet, but from a course fit standpoint, is Chris Gotterup the type of guy you're looking for? Maybe like a Ludwig, who I know you like?
Yeah, I'll like Ludwig. I'll like Gotterup. Gotterup's someone I'll probably use more in DFS than less so in betting markets, but certainly understand the upside and think that he still continues to not be priced appropriately for what we've seen from him over the last month or so of the season.
Fair enough. Yeah, he had a pretty bad tournament until yesterday. Then he kind of exploded and did Chris Gotterup thing. So it was a good performance for him to kind of leave the FedEx St. Jude. All right, let's get to some more picks. Danny Brasco, talk to me about, oh shoot, am I going to have problems pronouncing this name? I guess I'll just let you do it. Give me some fight picks and some NFL picks.
No, you're lucky. I gave you a break on the pronunciation. I think this guy's Chilean, but he has an American sounding name, so you're going to be totally good. We got a Dana White's Contender Series pick, Tuesday night fights. This is week 1. This is the little fight event that allows guys to get a chance to get a UFC contract. They throw it all on the line here, and they prove, are they at that level? Are they caliber to make the promotion? I believe that Christopher Ewart is, and I'm going to take him on the money line at minus 148. Now, this is actually the first fight on the card. So if you're betting it, tune in early, right when these fights start up. Week 1, I'm expecting action. This guy was actually called on short notice to replace a fighter for a UFC event, and he couldn't quite make the weight, so it didn't happen. But that sticks out to me that the matchmakers had him on standby. And his opponent, Yuri Panfarov, is a guy that already lost on the Contender Series. This is a middleweight fight. Both guys kind of I think, going to brawl a little bit. But I think Ewert's the much better striker. He stays very light on his feet and bouncy, and that's going to be important here against the guy that's going to want to take him to the ground and probably try to submit him. Panfirov's much better at his jiu-jitsu than his striking. He kind of just fires in there, try to get a handle on you as he throws into the clinch. But I think Ewert's going to be able to buck him off, stay light. He doesn't throw that with that much power, but I don't mind that. Sometimes you see guys, he throws this left hook almost to like parry your guard away, not to really land clean, but just move your arms away and then fire the right hand. I kind of like that from Ewert, and I like the toughness he showed in his last fight. He's fought a much higher level of competition, and that's really what you're going off here in Dana White's Contender Series. There's a lot of unknowns here. I just don't think Panfarov has a complete game, and I like Ewert's style a little bit more. So give me the undefeated Christopher Ewert to keep it going on the first fight of Dana White's Contender Series now. Next up, guys, I'm going to go to an NFL Future, and this is one that I've been locking in on for a while. I'm watching this team. I'm watching their training camp. I'm listening to interviews, and I just believe that the Saints are an unserious football team. I'm going with their alt under 4.5 wins at plus money. The difference in the market is quite large. The under 5.5 wins is minus 165, and over $1 in value on the other side to the under 4.5. So we're going to sweat this fifth win. It's really going to come down to that. But look, it's not that the Saints aren't going to take the season seriously. I just can't take them seriously with Tyler Shuck as the #1 QB, with Spencer Rattler behind there, with Kellen Moore coming into his first season as a head coach. Kellen Moore, stud of an offensive coordinator in Philadelphia, quarterbacks coach as well. But I don't know if he's going to be able to whisper into the ear of Shuck, a 25-year-old super senior coming to the NFL. Those guys that have been late grads have not panned out well in the NFL. And after him, it's not going to go well. Jake Herner, I just don't really see this offense being efficient. I like the wide receiver core, but we saw when Olave went down, they really struggled. Kamara's a year older. And Brandon Staley is the defensive coordinator. I'm not sure about the leadership of this team. I like some of the defensive additions. Justin Reed, one of my favorite safeties in the league. But again, if they start to spin out, it goes 0-3, 0-4 start. It might go really poorly for them. I'm not sure if they're going to have a fight in them in this season. And I could see them winning 3 games even and being the worst team in the league. I know they're in a soft division, but I think we're underrating the Falcons and the Panthers a little bit. So they're going to have to beat teams like the Patriots, the Titans, the Giants. And I don't know if they can beat 3 of those teams. So I think, honestly, they go 2-4 in division, and I don't know if they get 3 more wins. Give me the Saints alt under 4.5 or plus money, Sia.
Yeah, I mean, Joe's pointing this out. Danny, you and I are in agreement here. I took this alt under as well, and I love that we're both on it because I think we're kind of looking at this with the same lenses. However, I have come to learn that there's a very smart person on this show that might lean, maybe not an official play, but might lean to the over of 4.5 or 5.5 or whatever it is. PropStarz, you have the floor.
First and foremost, that was such an impassioned take on the UFC Dana White Contender Series. So kudos to Danny for that. But I'm going to push back on the Saints here. I might be the lone dissenter as far as backing them, but I think this number it basically represents or is built in with really poor quarterback play. Again, very low number. I think if you look at the rest of the Saints roster, it's average and slightly above average in some areas. Offensive line, they've invested heavily in 4 first-round picks. Their center, McCoy, Pro Bowl caliber player. They have 2 top 15 picks in back-to-back drafts at tackle. I think they're going to be okay. Also, if there is a coach who's going to coach up the quarterback, obviously unproven as a head coach, but Kellen Moore, while he was offensive coordinator, Dak Prescott, Jalen Hurts, Justin Herbert all had career years. If he can get just average quarterback play out of Spencer Rattler or whoever's under center for the Saints, I think there's a chance that happens. I think they're going to be benefit from a very soft schedule. The defense, I think, is, again, not necessarily a top 10 defense, but Danny mentioned it. Justin Reed, one of the most underrated players in the NFL. Great addition to that back end. I think, again, they're an average defense, and I think this team has the potential to win 6 or 7 games. I think they're going to be better than the consensus is. I think it's a good spot when everyone is doubting them. So I am a lone Saints backer here.
This will be interesting to see how it plays out over the season, because I agree with Danny on this one. Danny, your rebuttal.
His point about the offensive line is my one concern. If Cesar Ruiz and Eric McCoy are just bodying people there. They have a couple good linemen there, and they were injured last season. That might have really contributed to just the downfall of the Saints. If that O-line is healthy, they might shut me up, and maybe Tyler Shuck or Spencer Rattler just has some time to operate. Those guys are both fearless, at least, right? I mean, they're taking the season seriously. I'm not taking them seriously. They're going to show up. Whenever they throw 5 picks or 3 fumbles, they're going to keep airing it out. So they'll play.
Regarding Spencer Rattler, I have heard that he has really been impressive throughout training camp. Kellen Moore has gushed over him. So I do think there is a chance. I thought I saw enough out of him last year. Again, not talking about a top-end starter here. We're just talking about maybe if he can be an adequate backup or just enough to play decent winning football. I think he can be a game manager. I think this Saints team is built to have success, rely on the ground game, rely on the defense, kind of in that Pittsburgh mold. I think they kind of match up similarly. And again, very soft schedule. I believe in Kellen Moore. I think if there was a guy out there outside of maybe like a Kevin O'Connell, that he is the guy to basically get the most out of those unproven quarterbacks. And everything I've heard is that Rattler has really made massive strides from last year to this year. So I do think the Saints have a chance to be at least a 6 or 7 win football team.
Well, we do have to get to our home run chart and to our recap screen, but I'll close with this. I don't know how Kellen Moore is going to do as an offensive coordinator calling plays and a head coach, first of all. But when you're a head coach and you're coming into New Orleans and New Orleans is coming into your house, and you have to game plan for Spencer Rattler and Tyler Shuck and this defense that I don't think is going to stop a lot of people, especially against the run. I just think it's like you feel pretty good. It's kind of like a sigh of relief. Oh, we get the Saints this week. Now, that doesn't mean they're not going to win 5 or 6 games, but I just feel like this team is not equipped to hang with most NFL teams. Then again, it's the NFL. A lot of these teams, a lot of parity. Mike, do you want to very quickly break? It's not really a tie here, but you want to take one side or the other? Maybe they get 5 or 6 wins.
I can see 5. I'm sitting this one out. I'm not betting it either way. The thing that I would comment on is they get the Giants in New Orleans.
Mm-hmm.
They get the Titans late in the season when we know the Titans will have 0 to play for at that point. They play the Panthers twice.
Yeah. It is technically an easy schedule. There's no question about that. Go ahead, Proppy.
I look at Tennessee's roster compared to the Saints. If you remove the quarterback, obviously Cam Ward, I think that roster is significantly worse. The Saints. I think the Saints have legitimate talent on both sides of the football. So
I've got both unders. I gave out both unders on this show. I gave out the Titans under at plus money, and I gave out the Saints under at plus money. Danny, I know you are. So, I mean, those are the 2 teams that if there were 2 teams that I thought were going to be very bad, for me, it's those 2.
Yeah, at the end of the day, if you don't have a quarterback, you don't have a team. I don't think Tyler Shuck is the guy. And probably, I'm actually hearing that he's looking like the number 1 out of camp. So we'll see who they end up going with, but I don't believe in either.
Fair enough. All right, we'll wrap it up there. We got a lot more NFL content coming your way, including Fantasy Football Today DFS. We're just a couple of weeks away from that, but obviously our primetime shows, all of that whole slate. Make sure you're subscribed to this YouTube channel. Let's take a look at the home run chart before we get everybody out of here and get to the recap screen. SportsLine model, inside the lines and SportsLine plays. James Wood, plus 412 versus the real odds, plus 550. Some serious value there. Riley Green, plus 300 versus plus 400. Then we go to Ryan McMahon, plus 390 versus plus 470. All 3 with pretty great value. James Wood, Riley Green, and Ryan McMahon. And speaking of the Inside the Lines crew, I could have sworn I saw Taft Gant in the chat. He liked the Chris Gotterup play as well. And we know Taft is very sharp. So hopefully Chris Gotterup crosses the line for us in that without market. There was one question I wanted to get to. We've gone really long, so I'm just going to get to one question here. I like this one. Does anybody have any commentary on the Steelers at the Jets week 1? I think it's still Steelers minus 2.5. Does anybody like anything? I'm kind of on the Steelers there. Anybody have a take here?
I love the Jets plus 3 when it's available. Yeah. Love
okay.
Plus 3.
Do you see any 3s, or are you just kind of waiting?
It was 2 weeks ago when we did a segment on HQ, but I have no idea where it's at currently.
And 2.5. Sorry, Sia, go ahead.
Would 2.5 would be a stay away?
I would still lean to the Jets. Okay. At that point, I would probably play them on the money line.
Gotcha.
And M2, are you a Justin Fields backer?
I think the Justin Fields I think the Jets roster is better this year than it was last year.
Yeah.
So the thing I come back to on the Jets, right? We're all so down on them here. We kind of all like them at 9 or 9.5 wins last season. The roster is better. The win total is 3 or 4 less. with a better roster, in my opinion.
Interesting.
Yeah. Okay. There were people asking about Martin Green in the chat earlier in the show. Martin Green and Buckets are going to join me for some Premier League stuff for 2 whole segments on CBS Sports Network today at 12 o'clock. We're also going to cover some college football, some Big Five stuff, some of the smaller Power Five, I should say, some of the smaller conferences with Emery Hunt and Tom Casale. And we've also got some MLB bets on the CBS Sports Network show at 12 o'clock today as well. So make sure you're dialed in for that. All right. Well, we got to get out of here. We've already gone 30 minutes. I wish I could have gotten to more of your questions, but too much conversation. That's what happens when NFL season comes around. But don't worry, we will get to all of your questions. For now, we're on the Dodgers team total over 4.5 at -120. That one courtesy of Mike McClure. Jose Quintana under 17.5 outs at -115. And then we're going to the NFL. Aaron Rodgers under 23.5 passing touchdowns at -120. Both of those from PropStarz. Then we go to Christopher Ewart, money line, -148. That's from Danny Brasco. And Saints alt under 4.5 wins at +140. Love the plus number there. Early wedge. The early winner is Chris Gotterup without Scotty Scheffler and Rory McIlroy to win at +3,000. Ladies and gentlemen, way more bets to come. Some on the DFS show tonight at 7, but certainly on the early wedge tomorrow, best bets show at 7 on this YouTube channel. And then finally, SportsLine pick, Milwaukee Brewers run line +105. That is from Bruce Marshall. So all eyes on that Milwaukee game for sure. Our top MLB home run plays, James Wood, Riley Green, and Ryan McMahon. Wow, what a show. I can't believe it's 31 minutes. We got more to come, by the way, on CBS Sports Network today at noon, Thursday at noon, Friday at noon. You see a lot of ACC preview, Big 12 preview, a lot of college football, and, of course, NFL coming up on these network shows. By the way, a lot of that content gets posted on the SportsLine YouTube channel, so you got to make sure you subscribe to the podcast on Spotify and Apple, and then, of course, on the YouTube channel as well. Danny, thank you. Mike, thank you. Proppy, thank you. Ben, thank you. Sorry for taking so much time. Hopefully this was a good 31 minutes on a Monday to kick off your week. We'll see you next time on The Early Edge. We rest our case.